Hey, what's up, guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. Well, today I want to talk about a man. He's one of the most well-known guys in all of ufology. When it comes to this man, Bob Lazar, many of you have heard of him, but I know many of you who are new to the channel and to this topic probably haven't. But you should, because this guy is probably most well-known for bringing the mystique and really the mainstream spotlight to the highly secretive Area 51 military base and just what it is that is happening there, and more importantly, what is being stored there. Now, I have a clip to show you of an interview that Bob Lazar did. However, just to start off, if you don't know who he is, or just to refresh your memory, Bob Lazar, otherwise known as Robert Scott Lazar, who was born on January 26, 1959, is a gentleman who claims to have worked on reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology at a site called S4 near the Area 51 test facility, and that UFOs use gravity wave propulsion, something we've spoken about many times on the channel. These craft were said to have been powered by, at the time, undiscovered Element 115. He further claims to have read U.S. government briefing documents that describe alien involvement in human affairs over the past 10,000 years. And in the late 80s, his story came to the forefront, being seen as one of the world's very first UFO whistleblowers, having said that he had worked as a scientist at the Meson Physics Facility at Los Alamos National Laboratory. It was here that he claimed to have worked at an underground lab called S4 that is south of the main Area 51 base. At first, he appeared in interviews with investigative journalist George Knapp, and eventually allowed himself to be filmed in the light and shared his true identity, with his story and the Area 51 base itself becoming famous in the making. Now, what made the mystery even more compelling was the fact that at the time, Area 51's very existence was being denied by the U.S. government. Now, as I said earlier, this man and his story is truly unbelievable, and you will have almost a clear line split right down the middle of those who believe him and those who say he's a liar or a hoaxer, and he made it all up. Now, I personally believe that he is telling the truth, because when you watch his interviews, and you study him, and you look at him and you gauge the man. You gauge his overall intelligence, his way of speaking. He comes across as someone who is telling the truth. And I think all of us have that sort of sixth sense where we can look at someone and say, okay, this person is a charlatan, but we can tell when another person is being truthful. Now, after he came out with his claims, the Los Alamos Laboratory, and even the college universities that he attended are said to have erased him from their records. However, an old phone book for the laboratory was discovered with Robert's name listed as an employee. Now, many of the skeptics to Robert's story will say, well, when you check into his background and you call Los Alamos or you call MIT or these colleges that he said to have attended, they have no record of him. They deny his existence and employment completely. But wouldn't you guys expect that, at the very least? And of course, we've heard this many times. Would you really think that the government wouldn't erase every trace that you worked for them if you came out and leaked classified information, specifically that having to do with alien technology? Of course they would. They've done it before, and there are many stories of this. They will do anything they can to discredit a whistleblower. Furthermore, there has been a significant number of high-ranking and credentialed members of the scientific and military communities that have privately substantiated Bob's claims. And even recently, a witness came forth or was found who was willing to go on the record admitting that Mr. Lazar did indeed work at Los Alamos, and this was confirmed by the man who worked alongside him, who goes by the name of Dr. Robert Krangle, who is doing some contract work for the government. And so this is a fascinating story. It's a fascinating case, especially for those of you just getting into ufology. And today I want to show you one of the most prized interviews for ufologists. It's one of the more rare and earlier interviews that Mr. Lazar did with investigative journalist George Knapp. And it truly is a gem, and it can display to you better than I can what Lazar did, what he knew, and what he worked on while at this secretive facility. So go ahead and check out this clip. It's only about 6 minutes long, and let me know what you guys think down in the comments.
The American government denies that this place even exists. But this Russian satellite photo tells a different story, showing huge hangars and an enormous runway. The place is Area 51 in the Nevada desert. It was built in the 1950s to test top-secret aircraft. The stealth fighter was developed here. Security's tight inside and outside the base. American scientist Robert Lazar claimed he worked in the highest security section called S4.
The security was unbelievably oppressive. There was a security guard everywhere following you all the time. There was never any free discussion allowed, which is the basis of science.
Recently, Lazar caused a sensation when he revealed that he'd been ordered to investigate the propulsion systems of captured alien spacecraft.
My work involved the back engineering of an extraterrestrial craft, specifically the propulsion and power source. The UFOs are very typical. As far as a typical UFO is, it's two inverted dishes, two inverted pie plates, if you wish, and with a hump on the top. Metallic looking, no wings, no fins, no visible propulsion source. Inside they're very sparse. If you come in the main entryway, you'll see 3 seats, the central reactor and waveguide that goes to the ceiling, the 3 gravity amplifiers surrounding it, and you'll really see just about nothing else.
The authorities immediately denied his claims, and now he says they've tried to erase his identity from all official records. George Knapp is a well-respected investigative reporter with KLAS-TV. He broke the story, including the claim that Lazar worked at Los Alamos in New Mexico, where the atomic bomb was developed.
The lab denied any knowledge of his existence, denied that he'd ever worked there. We came back with a phone book from the lab that shows Bob's name in it, that he was, in fact, there. They still denied any knowledge that he had ever worked there. I asked Bob if he'd be willing to take a polygraph test, and he didn't hesitate. The polygraph examiner, after conducting a series of 4 different tests, concluded that Bob is telling the truth about what he saw out there, about working at the base, about seeing the flying saucers, about working on anti-gravity propulsion systems, telling the truth. I had a former employee quiz him for a period of 2 hours about simple things, not where are the flying saucers stored, but where's the cafeteria? How do you pay for your meal? What's it look like inside? Those sorts of things, and that employee is convinced that Bob really was out there.
Were you threatened?
I was threatened, and my wife's life was threatened also.
And why do you think that those threats were not carried out?
Probably because that I went public.
How did these craft get into the hands of the U.S. government?
I really have no idea how the craft got there. I don't believe there were crashes because the craft weren't damaged, and that's about all that I can say.
How do you know, though, that these were extraterrestrial craft?
First of all, we were back engineering the technology, which means we were taking a finished product and trying to figure out how it was originally designed and developed. Second of all, the technology that we're dealing with doesn't exist.
Did you ever see them fly?
They were frequently tested. They were tested normally on Wednesday nights when the traffic was lowest in the area. I saw one test close up and several tests at a distance of about 15 miles.
Certainly the American military have been testing saucer-shaped craft. This top-secret research film from the 60s has just come to light. But even after nearly 30 years, the security services still refuse to talk about it. More recently, work on so-called black projects has been carried out at Area 51, including the stealth aircraft and strategic defense initiative weapons to be used in outer space. But were they only developed to protect America against earthly enemies? Or was there a more urgent purpose behind President Reagan's Star Wars project?
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.